Welcome to OpenText Output Server installation with external Postgres. Here we will go through the standard installation of OpenText Output Server version 16.6 on a Linux machine with external Postgres database. For this, the prerequisites are a valid output server license file, Postgres installed on a remote machine. For this, database user and schema will have to be created along with granting privileges. We will go through the steps for these during the output server installation. Next, we need open source package star file. This star file will contain all the open source softwares that have been used in output server. Next is data direct ODBC drivers. Make sure that ODBC driver is installed prior to output server installation. There would be a separate video which would cover all these prerequisites in detail. To install Output Server, the package will be available on Microsoft Teams shortly, whereas post 16.6 release it will be available on OpenText My Support page. Next, we will look into the steps to install Output Server on a Linux machine with external Postgres database. Log into a Linux machine and navigate to the path where Output Server package is located. We will list the files here. So these are the files that are available in the package. Do not use system generated Perl. It is always recommended to use the Perl that is provided with the package, as it would contain output server configuration changes. We use setup.pl script to start the installation. So we will begin the installation here. On running the setup script, we are prompted with two options. One is to install OpenText Output Management product components, or two is to uninstall. On every operation we choose, there is a default option that is being prompted here. So we can hit enter and go with the default option, or we can choose other available options and proceed further. We can use the same setup script to uninstall Output Server. So we will begin the installation by choosing option 1. Next, we need to select the package, whether it is OpenText Output Server or OpenText Output Server client only. So we'll go with option 1, OpenText Output Server. Next is to select the type of installation. So we'll go with option 1, that is standard installation. Here we need to choose an operation of license or fingerprint generation. So we'll go with the license setup, where we will provide a license file. Here we need to provide the full path of the generated license file along with the file name. This has to be a valid license file, otherwise you will not be able to proceed further and you would be prompted to provide a valid license file. Next, we need to enter the path where we want to install output server binaries. Here you can provide a path of your choice. I have provided the path. So it says the directory does not exist. Do you want to create it? We'll choose yes. Next, we need to enter the path where we want to install output server instance. So it has taken the same path that we have provided for output server binaries. So I'll continue with that. Next, we need to enter the path where we want to store output server log files. So it has prompted a path where it will create a log folder under the path of output server instance. So this directory does not exist. Do you want to create it? Yes. Next, we need to enter the username who will own the installed files. You could enter the username of your choice. So I'll go with the default. Next, do you want to restrict access to server binaries to other users? No. Do you want to create a set of default servers? So we'll go with option 1, where it will create primary servers and one default server for each delivery server. Next we need to enter the OpenText Output Server domain name. Again, you could choose a domain name of your choice, but make sure that it starts with a letter and it can contain letters, numbers or other specific characters. So I'll continue with the default. Next we need to enter the output server NM port number, and again it has to be in the range that is given here. So I'll enter 4015. Next, do you want to configure advanced server options including firewall and multi-network interface card support? So we will not go with advanced server options, no. Do you want this setup to start the servers at the end of installation? Yes. Next, we need to select the type of database that we want to use. So we'll go with option 1, Postgres. Do you want to use OpenText Postgres server package? Since we want to install external Postgres, we will enter no here. Enter the hostname or IP address where the Postgres database server is running. So we will log into a remote host where Postgres database server is running. So I have logged into the remote host where Postgres database server is running. First we will create a user. This is the command to create a user where you provide the user password. Next step is to create database. So we create database for this user. So database has been created. Next step is to grant privileges. So we grant all privileges on the database to the database user. Yeah, so it is successful. Next step is to create schema. For this we will connect to the database that we have created. Yeah, so now we are connected to the database that we just created. So now we will create a schema for this. Next we will grant privileges. This is the command, grant all on schema database to the user. So we have created database and user for Postgres on a remote host. Now we will go back to the output server installation steps and enter all these details. Make sure that hostname of Postgres installed server is resolvable by output server host. That is, Postgres installed host and output server installed host are able to do the DNS resolution to each other. And this is the host name of the remote host where Postgres database server is running. So we will be entering this host name in the output server installation. Next we need to enter the database name. Next enter the port number for Postgres database server. So this is the port number where it was configured. Next enter the Postgres username. So this is the username that we created. Next we need to enter the user password for the database that we created. Re-entering password. Next we need to enter the installed path for ODBC Postgres driver. Next is to enter the full path of open source package star file. Do you want to enable encryption? We'll go with yes. So we have selected all the options. So this is a list where we can perform pre-installation check and review the installation and configuration options. So if the installation and configuration options are correct, then we proceed with yes. If we need to make any one or more changes, then we enter no and make those changes and proceed further. So we'll go with the yes option. So open source package extraction is successful. It is configuring primary servers. Now it is configuring delivery servers. So installation has been completed. So we see here that OpenText Output Server 16.6 server successfully installed and configured. To check the server status, we will first have to source the environment. So we see that all servers are running. Since we have used external Postgres, the server status of Postgres is not displayed here. So it only displays the internal server status. We can check the output server version here. So it is OpenText Output Server 16.6 version and package 10 that is installed. To view all the configuration and installation details, we can use list host command. It will list all the details here. So with this, we have successfully installed OpenText Output Server version 16.6 on a Linux machine using external Postgres database.